Hey everyone, welcome to the Huddle. I'm in New York City this week at the National Retail Federation's Big Show. We call it the Big Show because every year we bring exhibitors and people together from all over the world to talk about new technologies and things that are emerging in retail. Just in fact, here we have people from over 100 countries, 104 countries, 1,000 exhibitors. It's a big show. But one of the things we do at the NRF that is really exciting is we have the National Retail Federation Foundation, which has a number of programs that help people all over the country with development and bringing students along and teaching them about the opportunities that exist in retail. So I have two people here that I'm really excited to talk about. Lori Messi, and Lori, I'm going to read your title to get this right. It's the Coordinator of Secondary Pathways and Partnerships.
That's correct.
And then John Marschhausen, the Superintendent of the Dublin City Schools,
Yes,
Dublin,
sir.
Ohio. Just to be clear, it's not Dublin, Ireland, but Dublin,
Yes.
Ohio, which is a nice, really nice town. I was just talking earlier, I was there about 15 years ago. And we've got a story about store 2774 there in town. But love for the two of you to start by just talking about what you do, who you are, and how all this came together. So Lori, would you like to go first?
Sure. So Lori Messi, and I get to work on helping students think about the what's next. And so sometimes I'll explain it's the beginning of workforce development. And when a student's in high school and they're getting ready to make that transition, do they have the information necessary to make the decisions that are best for them? And so in Dublin, we've been really lucky to be able to provide a lot of different opportunities so that all students can find a pathway towards success.
Mm-hmm. And such big questions at that age, trying to sort out what do you do with the rest of your life. Don't have to decide all of it then, but at least understand the options. And John, you said this was your fourth district you've been a part of?
Fourth district, 19th year as a superintendent. And over the last 2 decades, what's expected from schools has changed. Our district's vision statement is to prepare students for success, and that's individual for each kid. So as we look at students having the opportunity to have experiences in high school, they'll allow them to see what the pathways that Lori helps open for them, can they get multiple experiences? So as they look at what does their journey look like moving forward, and what does success look like for each student, having experiences, and in today's world, it's having partners. It's having those retail and business partners that allow us to create the entire community as our classroom. And it's not just sitting in 4 walls from 7:30 to 2:30 at the high school level. Now it's getting out into the classrooms of tomorrow, which are in the real world, to start experience and learn those skills and get those opportunities to build on what's next.
Sure. So experience and exposure, obviously both important in so many choices. And you're here for the NRF Foundation Honors. And so let's talk about your connection with NRF to begin.
Okay, why don't you take this one away?
Sure. Okay. So we were introduced to NRF through our partner with Ohio Council of Retail Merchants. And we were thinking of how can we help our students realize graduation in a more relevant way. And at the same time, Ohio Council of Retail Merchants had NRF Rise Up program. And so we started with a boot camp. And this allowed students to engage in the Rise Up curriculum and meet the requirements they needed to for graduation. So from there, we've been able to integrate the Rise Up curriculum into our business courses. So to date, we have over 100 students who have met at least one credential, and 66 are already ready to graduate from the Rise Up curriculum.
That's fantastic. And when did you start with Rise Up? What was the first experience?
Yeah, so it was 2 summers ago. But Rise Up in Ohio has been around for the last several years as it became an alternative way for students to graduate. And again, I think our policymakers at the state level really saw it as an opportunity not just to meet the graduation requirements, but for it to be a relevant and experiential learning opportunity pathway for students to meet those requirements.
You know, there's so many things about what you just said that really strike a chord with me. And it's so great for students to get the exposure outside and in the work environment and to work with others, to learn to work on teams. And retail's a big team. And John, I'm sure you have a big team and spend a lot of time thinking about how this comes together. How did it fit into the goals that the district has in Dublin?
Well, the goals are for when those kids come down the stage with a diploma in their hand, for them to be prepared for what's next. And that's going to be different for each student. But one of the things we hear from business partners is there were certain school skills students were lacking. So this goes both ways, because now we get to engage with those business partners who can share with us, here's what we need the district to be developing in the students that you're preparing for the next generation of workforce. Workforce development starts in K-12 education. And we get to now partner, and rather than it being a curriculum that's made by lawmakers, now it's a curriculum that's made by the people for whom we're preparing the workforce. And when our young people learn grit, when they learn to be responsible, when they learn to show up every day and take pride in that work from the people that they're going to be working for, it has so much more meaning than us reading it in a textbook or telling them. So that experience and the skills that are going to be needed for tomorrow, we can talk about AI in public schools, but when they see AI at work in your stores,
Right.
now it's
real.
different. And
Right.
it's real, and it allows them to think a little bit differently. Not every kid plays school well. And how do you get the kids for whom the traditional school day isn't best, but they're bright and they're hardworking? How do you get that spark so that they see what's next?
Yeah,
and these programs allow us to do it.
And the Walmart Spark means a lot to us, so we love the idea of sparking something or sparking a movement. And you mentioned AI, which is, in many ways, can sound like a buzzword or hype, but it's a real thing. And when you combine learning and being local, which retail is local. We're just at our company, we're in 5,000 communities. So, Lori, talk about the connection of how all that comes together, and love to talk about at least one of your students is working at a Walmart store in town.
Yeah, I think one of the great things, John was mentioning about those experiences, and sometimes that part-time after-school job can be overlooked as an experience. And so when we're able to connect that part-time job experience to next steps, what a student can pursue, and they can understand and see themselves in an organization like Walmart, it's again that experiential immersive piece. And we're saying, we can do great things in the classroom, but we can do even better things out, and just really bringing all of that learning to life. And I think that's the meaning behind the learning for students. And so when they get to work at a Walmart and now they're connecting with the curriculum, they can say, oh, I can do this, or I know I can go in this pathway.
Right. So I started part-time in a Walmart store in Bentonville, Arkansas, thinking I would work for a summer. And I was in college. And my only regret is I didn't start sooner, because what I learned quickly is college got easier. When I was in, I remember classes in marketing or accounting, they were talking about things that we were just doing every day. It was so helpful to connect the two, and I think it just better prepares you. But you do have at least one, right, that is with Walmart?
Yeah, and I would imagine we have a handful more if we really dug in. So a lot of students, they're out and they're working, but not reporting back. So that's one of the things that I love about Dublin, is we're really trying to take all of those pieces into consideration and give teeth, I guess, to when students do have a part-time job, and understanding that they are gaining essential skills for their next steps. So we're really working to figure out who those students are, and making sure not only are they getting credit for their job, but how can we also count that as high school credit?
Sure. And the credit is motivating. I remember I was an intern one summer, and I wrote a paper about my internship, and I got college credit for it. That was fantastic, because I get to do two things at once, so quite motivating. John, what's been the biggest surprise with the program over the last couple of years?
I think it's great now that parents who think about these different pathways, when they hear about it from a guidance counselor, they all want their kids to go to four-year colleges. But now when they start to talk to our partners who are future employers, so many of those partners see work as part of that pathway to continuing education. So many jobs don't require the 4-year degree at the jump, but if you can get on with the right company, if you can get into the right role, the opportunities for continuing education and continued growth are there. And with the academy programs that we have in Dublin that allow students to try different things, it's nice that there are college-bound students, there are workforce-bound students, there are students who are enrolled in our military and who will enlist, all in the same programs. And we're teaching drone pilots in the Dublin City School District in a partnership with Ohio State. And they leave with their drone pilot's license. And we have kids who are actually working now as drone pilots who sat in the same class with folks who were at the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs or ROTC at Yale. They were all together, and the skills that they learn to interact, the skills that they learn with partners are going to serve them well in what's next. Mom and dad, listen when Walmart says, we've got a job for you, and you can build on that. You could become CEO after being part-time. When mom and dad hear that means a lot too.
Just so many opportunities. I was trying to think about my high school, and I don't think we knew what the word drone was. And just to think that these things are there and they're real, and they were real ways to make an income. We just announced recently that we're going to expand our drone delivery program to almost a couple million households across the DFW region. So a lot of opportunities. Last thing, people that are watching, there'll be students see this, there'll be other school districts see this, other educators. What advice do you have for other organizations to try to take advantage of all the opportunities that we have in front of us that will help all of our children, all of our kids, all of our students be the best they can be?
Be willing to take risks. I think we're never sure if something's going to work or not, but we know behind the goal, it's what's best for students. And so when we take a risk in order to do what's best for students, it usually works out. I think getting involved in the community, we've got a great community that offers a lot of support and resources. And it's really that forward thinking and what can we do next and how do we best serve our students so they are prepared for success in any pathway that they want to pursue.
And John, was there anything you had to do as superintendent to make sure that this vision came to life, just as Lori described?
Well, I think the key is those partnerships. As education entities, we're not always the best lobbyists. We're not always the best to get policies changed. But when we partner with business partners and business leaders, and we create things like Rise Up that allow us now to get kids across the finish line and into the workforce with the necessary skills, we can't do that alone as educators. But if we can partner with our retail association, with our corporate and business leaders, we can do anything. And it's that two-way communication and building trust.
It is, and I think there's a lot of great advice in there, and we're always better together, that's for sure. Well, look, it's been a lot of fun. It was great to see you recognized here in New York at the foundation for all that you've accomplished. Congratulations on helping so many kids, but there was some stiff competition out there, and you were the winner of who we wanted to recognize, and it means a lot to a lot of people. So thanks for taking the time to come talk to us, to come see us.
Thank you for your support.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.